Hello and welcome back everybody to the Foodbuild factory, where today we're going to take a look at the dungeon crawler. That's the girl you can see on screen right now. And as always, I'm going to show you some gameplay in the first part of the video, and in the second part of the video we're going to take a look at the perks, mutations, equipment and everything else you need to know in order to recreate the character, if you want to do so. So let's get right into it. What this character is going to be about is we're going to play as a stealth guerrilla first and foremost, but probably the more interesting thing about this build is going to be the fact that we are using a nuclear winter pipe pistol. So if the expression of a nuclear winter pipe pistol doesn't ring any bells to you, let me explain real quick. It's pretty common knowledge at this point, but I feel like maybe I should touch on it. Basically, like a year ago, maybe not a full year ago, there was a series of exploits where people were able to basically bring the nuclear winter, so the battle royale versions of some weapons, into the main game, and they differ quite drastically from their adventure mode versions. Mainly, the most prominent feature they have is they have ridiculously high range, something like 700 range. To put that into perspective, a dedicated sniper rifle, for example, usually has somewhere around 200 range. So, yeah, there's, to my knowledge, no legitimate weapon in the game that has similar properties. And in addition to that, there are some other adjustments to these weapons. Now, I can't speak for all of them, but if we're taking a look at this pipe pistol we're using, we do have a way higher ammo capacity, probably doubled basically. Then in addition to that, we do have a faster reload, it seems. And other notable features of these nuclear winter weapons is that they come at level 1 for the most part. And yeah, they have slightly different damage every now and then, so they're just handling very differently to the adventure mode weapons. Now, for the longest time, while they were interesting, most of these weapons weren't really all that useful. Now, there were exceptions all the time. Now, the most exciting nuclear winter weapon probably is the nuclear winter laser rifle. And by the way, we have to see if we can do something here in terms of AP refresh and everything. So this is not the encounter I was hoping for, because yeah, we're now directly getting into the weaknesses of the weapon. Its damage output against high level enemies. And a level 100 sheep squatch is probably one of the tankiest enemies that you can face in the base game. Taking into account we're not talking about bosses like Earl Williams or the Scorch Beast Queen here. Okay, this didn't went well. I tried to train it. Some people are really good at this technique of throwing grenades and shooting them out of the air, which could be cool, but I failed miserably, as you can see here. And yeah, back to the topic. This is where it falls short a little bit, so stick with me here, even though it's a bit boring to watch probably. But yeah, the weapon has its moments. It's definitely more interesting to see it go against other enemies. But overall, I would say I'm actually surprised that the fight went better than I expected, to be honest. And here you saw how over long range we were still relatively effective. Yeah, this definitely went better than I expected. Okay, I hope we're not overweight capacity. We aren't. And yeah, this is back to the situations where the weapon performs great. But as you saw there, due to a simple mag dump, meaning we're just putting bullets out like crazy, we can take down pretty much everything. Yet again, with the exception of maybe Earl Williams or the Scorch Beast Queen. And yeah, in general, you're running through a lot of bullets with this build. But keep in mind we're using .38 ammo, which is plentiful, and chances are if you're a high level player you have something like 50,000 of them just lying around, unless you really burn them in the ammo converter, which I would argue you probably don't, because the ammo converter is garbage. or maybe you sell them or drop them whenever you will feel like it. But overall, yeah, we're using very affordable ammo. .38 is probably among the most abundant ones. By the way, I'm probably skipping the Scorched Beast fight here, just because it would go similar, most likely, than the Sheep Squatch. But on the other hand, yeah, fuck it, we're doing it. So as you see here, range is not really a problem. The only problem we have is hit chance, but even then, it works relatively well. And yeah, we do have, like, are we in danger? Yeah, stealth seems to be a bit bugged, for me at least. I think we should not be in danger already here. Well, it's going relatively well. Maybe we can get Grim Reaper Sprint to proc. Yeah, we did. Even have a bit of a bonus from Gun Fu, and yeah. So it went rather well. Scorch Leader can go down as well. And yeah, keep in mind we're using a level 1 pipe pistol here, so overall I'm not at all disappointed with the outcome of the fights. And yeah, pretty rare occasion that within the first 5 minutes of the video we basically took on two pretty hefty enemies here. And yeah, there are definitely builds I wouldn't have been able to handle this situation as well as I did just now. So yeah, cover me impressed. I didn't really fight Scorch Beast a lot with this build, or Sheep Squatches, just because I thought, yeah, it's a waste of ammo and time. But yeah, turns out it did work rather well. What I like about the build is the aesthetic is really cool, and even though on paper it seems very similar to any stealth guerrilla build, actually the high range of the weapon really transforms this build and makes your whole playstyle differently. You start to approach situations differently than you would otherwise, just by keeping range. It's as simple as it sounds, but yeah, starting a fight from over here rather than going up closer to enemies is definitely something that feels different, in my opinion. And keep in mind, nothing locks you out from just using or carrying a quad 50 crit or quad explosive 10mm pistol with you in order to use against bosses, which is something I would actually advise you to do. Now here we have some obstacles in our way. Okay, I hear a mole miner. Can go down, and shouldn't there be a... usually here is a another Mr. Gutsy, but yeah, it's probably due to the spawn from the mole miner it isn't here. And ooh, legendary Gutsy. See if we can outdamage him. Barely, but we did it. So see some nuclear quantums. I will just drink them. Not because we need them, but yeah, I want to have them. Ooh, it's even a relatively good piece for once. Yeah. Okay, we have to sort out our carry weight problem here. Don't we have something like a booster or anything? Okay, sorry. It's a bit boring to watch this, but yeah, well, fuck it. We just dropped the Vampire's Golf Club. So as you saw there, this fight can definitely go differently, but due to the fact that, yeah, we can target the weak spots very efficiently of these enemies and we can keep our range, it worked rather well. The damage output is there due to the fact that you have such a high fire rate. If you're interested, the version of the weapon we are using is, now that we can craft legendary versions of these nuclear winter weapons, which is something I wanted to say earlier before we were interrupted by the Sheep Squatch. Now these weapons are very interesting. Now the legacy, the nuclear winter laser rifle was always very good and people loved it, but now it's even crazier. Yeah, due to the sheer fact that, yeah, you can get legendary versions, this is really crazy. I actually am surprised that Bethesda didn't think of this. I'm pretty sure, I mean, I can't imagine that people on the PTS didn't mention it. So, I'm not sure if they were unable to do something about it, or they just didn't care. But anyways, these legacy versions here are legacy nuclear winter weapons here are very interesting. And as you can see, you can make even a level 1 pipe pistol version actually rather good in my opinion. Now I'm a bit frustrated because I had a double barrel shotgun, and as you can imagine, a range of 700 on a shotgun is pretty insane. Would have loved to use a quad 33 version or quad explosive version of that. That would probably be pretty crazy. You could basically use it as a sniper. But what I did was I changed the reflex sight to a standard sight, I think. No, doesn't matter anyway, because the problem is if you are changing the sights on these weapons, that's when they lose their extreme range and their benefits that they have. So, man, I'm stupid. Feel like right back into my first video I ever made, where I just started to loot every single bit. And yeah, nice gun food chain here. 3 enemies in a row, which is always nice to see, and works rather well with this build due to the fact that we're using it at high range, meaning that all the enemies are within a span of like 30 degrees or something. That's when gunfu really works well. This, by the way, is my second take on the video. I actually recorded the whole video like half an hour ago and forgot to turn on my microphone. So therefore we have a completely barren video, just the raw gameplay. I actually thought about uploading it without making it public and then basically make a voiceover, but yeah, that's something I just never did before, and yeah, I figured it would be a bad idea to just do my usual kind of way about recording things. Overall, I had a ton of fun with this build. I wasn't expecting it. The weapon isn't perfect. There definitely would be better combinations, but it's not like with the alien blasters or any other weapon for that matter, where I just find another one and craft as much as I want, because yeah, it's a unique weapon. I can't really use another version, and therefore, yeah, it would have been a bit risky. After all, the effects are quite good. I have a quad crit version with faster reload. The faster reload is a bit unnecessary and would be something I would love to have a different effect. Quad also doesn't really do anything to our base damage, so I would have loved something to boost our damage, but on the other side, the more I'm playing with it, I think that quad is actually a good effect for this weapon. So yeah. Anyways, I'm quite happy with the build. There's one feature about the build that's a bit unique compared to my other characters, that we didn't really see in effect, and I actually use night vision, night eyes, sorry, for once. A perk that has always been there and never been used, at least not by me, and I know a lot of people hate it, because it actually doesn't really give you night vision. It just makes the screen blurry at night and puts a kind of a grayish filter over everything. And it's not like you're seeing more than you would without it at night, in my opinion. But I still like it quite a lot on certain enemies. On certain characters. Every build, it has a bit of a mysterious vibe to it, or some kind of supernatural vibe. You can really transform the way you're perceiving the world with this perk. That's why I'm liking it. I think we were not even in caution, so we didn't really get the stealth benefits there, but turned out quite well either way. And yeah, this situation here, for example, I am approaching very differently than I would with a standard weapon, and you will see in a second what I'm talking about here. This is really where we can use the high range of the weapon to our advantage. Now, with a high range commando build, you could do the same here, but yeah, I think legitimate weapons taken into account, there's no way to do something like this with a guerrilla build effectively. What I'm talking about obviously is just taking on all the super mutants in the backyard here just from up the cliff. Usually you jump down there and kill them, which works well on most characters, but since the weapon doesn't have a crazy damage output or anything, you really want to play, well, this would actually be an interesting piece, but yeah. You really want to utilize the advantage that this weapon gives you over another build, and this is definitely something that isn't just happening due to having the weapon, it's just something you have to actively try out for yourself and actively engage into it. You really have to transform the way you think about things. Obviously, indoors, this whole benefit isn't as beneficial as in outdoor situation, but even then, indoors, there's a lot of situations where I didn't think of, but the extra range helps you in that situation too. Like, oftentimes you can really look far distances within a building, which is something you just don't think about initially unless you're trying it. And as you can see here, this approach really works well. Enemies don't really find out where we are due to, I mean, we're pretty good stealth build on top of everything, but oopsie. Keeping our range definitely helps here. I think there was not a single legendary, by the way. Okay, back into caution really quickly. I think there wasn't a single legendary, so we can probably end the gameplay part of the video here. I mean, I always say that, and then when we're into the gameplay, into the part where looking at the perks or anything, some super mutants jumps out and surprises us. But okay, another hound. Yeah, let's just go up a bit further on the cliff. I'm probably able to show you the night vision perk once we're finished with the perks, but other than that, this was the gameplay part of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. I really had a ton of fun with this weapon. It was more of a spotlight, to be honest, and let's get right into it. So firstly, we are taking a look at our mutations. They are pretty straightforward here. We do have Adrenal Reaction, Bird Bones, Eagle Eyes, Egghead, Marsupial, and Speed Demon. Bird Bones and Eagle Eyes, pretty straightforward combination when it comes to a VETS character. Extra agility, perception and crit damage are pretty straightforward. We're having more action points to use in VETS. We're sneaking better due to extra agility. More perception means better VETS hit chance, and extra crit damage is self-explanatory. We're using crits as soon as we're getting them, so boosting their damage as far as possible is a nice thing to do. Then we do have Adrenal Reaction, which is a leftover from another build. So use it or don't, but since we are relatively flimsy and a stealth character, it doesn't really matter if we're having less or more hit points because we're trying to avoid being hit all the time anyways. The only thing that actually damages us in most situations is stray bullets from enemies that fire in your vague direction, and that means that we often find ourselves somewhere at like 60, 70, 50% health, meaning that we do get a little bit of a damage boost from Adrenal Reaction. So use it, don't use it, doesn't really matter here. It's just a leftover, but it doesn't really affect us all that much. Then we do have Egghead, which I just left in there because our strength and endurance are very low anyways, so debuffing them further doesn't matter at all. And yeah, it's just a 6 boost to intelligence, which helps us leveling, and yeah. Then we do have Marsupial, which is very straightforward. I always have it on my characters. Extra jump height and carry weight. Carry weight is nice, but really the jump height is something you probably won't see any high level player not utilizing. And lastly, we do have Speed Demon. Always a nice thing to have. Extra movement speed is just convenient. And extra reload speed, while not super necessary on this build, thinking about that we have a faster reload effect and a relatively fast reloading weapon to begin with, relatively high clip size, magazine size, sorry. Um, but yeah, having even further boosted our reload speed doesn't hurt either. And then we're going to take a look at our equipment itself. Here it is, a level 1 quad suppressed automatic pipe. It says rifle, it's a pistol though. Um, we do have the quad effect here, we do have better VATS crits. Quad and VATS crits really works well together in my opinion, on this weapon here especially. Faster reload is a bit wasted, as I said. Something like faster crits or less VATS cost would be nice. If we have faster crits, I would definitely transform the build a little bit though. And yeah, what's a bit more interesting here is in terms of modifications. Now most of it is straightforward: powerful automatic receiver, aligned grip, piercing magazine, reflex sight suppressor. Is a pretty standard VATS setup. The only thing interesting here is that the aligned stub barrel that's attached to the weapon. So usually you have a range of about 730, I think, on this weapon with the long barrel. And on this occasion I just went for the stub barrel because we can afford to. Usually I never use the stub barrel because the range penalty is too great, but let's be real here, the difference between 650 or 750 range is just negligible. It's so high either way, and I actually just prefer the looks of the stub barrel here. And in addition to that, it gives us a little bit more accuracy, which is nice. So yeah, there's that. Then another thing here, condition. The condition bar is pretty high, but it doesn't really matter because the weapon is unbreakable. Another feature that some of the nuclear winter weapons have. It looks like it has lost a little bit here, but it looks like this all the time. I just never bothered to repair it to full condition. Trust me when I say it doesn't break. Another thing is ammo, just to keep things into perspective here. When I started making the first video, I was somewhere at around 4,500 shots, and yeah, basically over the duration of two of these videos, I now burned through 2,000 rounds, which isn't all that crazy in my opinion for pretty much half an hour to 45 minutes of gameplay. And keep in mind we were fighting Sheep Squatch, which probably in and of itself took like 500 shots, so yeah, it definitely is manageable, and especially if we're talking about 38 ammo. Then we have our armor here. We do have 4 pieces of light chameleon metal armor. Nothing major otherwise. We do have some radiation resistance, chem weight reduction, extra strength, which is completely useless. Here we have 1 piece with harder to detect while sneaking, which is nice, and extra perception. And lastly, we do have fire resistance. So overall, yeah, nothing crazy. A few bits of power wouldn't hurt, definitely. So there's room to improve here. And as you can see, we do have 5 limbs that we can cover with armor, but we only have 4 armor pieces. And the simple reason here is that I don't have a light metal armor left arm. But I felt like it, in terms of visuals at least, it's not necessary because it would just add a tiny piece of metal over the left elbow due to the fact that we are wearing a Pip-Boy on the spot where usually the light metal arms are. So yeah, not a lot lost here. And in terms of effectiveness, well, we are a pretty effective stealth build, so I guess we can live without that 1 chameleon piece here. Yeah. Other than that, we do have the mummy under armor, which is completely useless for our means. Gives us charisma, intelligence, and luck. I mean, luck can be a bit useful here, but probably won't make a difference. Yet again, just an aesthetic reason, I wanted to have this look here. Obviously, go for radar under armor. Long johns work well with the look as well as the build, giving you extra agility and perception. That would be a nice addition, but yeah, I really just wanted to go for this here. And I really love how everything works out with the lobster trapper helmet, which got added into the game like half a year ago and was a big thing for a lot of people, me included. And lastly, we have my favorite backpack here, the Crocolossus backpack. And yeah, that was it in terms of equipment. Let's take a look at the perks here. So in terms of strength, we do have Bandolier and Ordnance Express. So Bandolier I would deem rather necessary. You don't have a lot of carry weight and you're using ballistic ammo all of the time. Ordnance Express is just something I can kind of leap forward here to intelligence. Our weapon isn't explosive, so I just thrown in the Demo Expert perk and Ordnance Express for one simple reason. One thing you can do is you can carry a M79 grenade launcher with you for crazier encounters, talking about sheep squatches and so on. Two-shot M79 grenade launcher works well with a VATS build and can really help you do damage to these higher level enemies. Then you can utilize grenades in a way I shown you, just do it better than I did. It can actually be very fun if you're throwing a grenade into a group of ghouls. Just VATS the grenade and in the right moment just shoot it. Can be really fun. I just fucked it up in the video, but yeah, can help you a little bit with your with situations where your weapon isn't the best choice. But that's just personal preference. If you don't want to do that, don't use Ordnance Express and Demo Expert. You will see when we're taking a look at the legendary perks that a lot of our perk points come from legendary perks. So this would probably be a spot where you can save on perk points. It's just a little bit of a gimmicky addition to the build. Then we're going to Perception, which is probably the highest I ever went with a guerrilla build, but I just wanted to double down here on the range and killing over range, so therefore high perception was a given to me. Tank Killer is pretty straightforward, as well as Concentrated Fire. Those two perks I would never want to miss on any guerrilla build. Relatively easy, giving us a better chance to hit an enemy and giving us more armor penetration, especially on low damage per shot weapons, is nice to have. And then we do have Crack Shot, which we're not really utilizing a whole lot, but if we do, it's nice to have. Additional range when aiming down sights is not really necessary on this build here. The thing is though that the better accuracy is really nice to have. The pipe pistol handles very well in free aim, has very little recoil, and if you add extra accuracy to the whole situation, you can really use manual shots if you desire so. Then we do have where it is Glow Sight, situational perk, but I like to include it whenever I want to have high perception but don't really know what I want to use it for. Glow Sight is always a nice pick. There are certain events talking about Uranium Fever, Radiation Rumble, where this can be very handy, and even general gameplay, it can save your ass. Well, probably not save your ass, but it can be convenient in a lot of situations. Think about glowing Snalligasters, they happen to often be glowing. Well, glowing Snalligasters pretty much always happen to be glowing, but you know what I'm talking about. Snalligasters in general seem to be glowing quite often when you're high level. And lastly, we do a Fire in the Hole, just one rank. This basically gives you the little throwing arc when you're throwing a grenade to see where it goes, which is nice to have, but more than rank 1 rarely is necessary in my opinion, because it just increases the range at which you can throw your grenades, and well, okay. And lastly, we do have Night Eyes. So I really hope that when we're going out of the Pip-Boy, that it is nighttime and I can show you. I already talked about it. It's less of a means of seeing better in the dark, funnily enough, but it fits the character thematically. Being a dungeon crawler, you know, like always exploring these dark places, you want to have kind of night vision, even though it's not really night vision. But especially because this whole character feels like a bit of a mystery, using this very mysterious weapon that's kind of trash but kind of good. And yeah, it can really lead to some very cinematic moments. I can frankly remember a situation where I was in a mire fighting a Scorch Beast, and when I was looking through the crowns of the trees inside the moonlight, and the Scorch Beast flew through the moonlight, it really transformed the whole scenery, and it looked like another game, not like Fallout, if that makes sense. Then we go on to Endurance, one of the dumb stats here, just rank 3 of Fireproof to prevent us from being blown up by random cars or exploding legendary robots and so on. So very straightforward. You could go for other things here, you could arguably go down to 1 Endurance anyways, but yeah, that's just what we went for here. Charisma, very straightforward combination. I'm always using, or pretty much always, Tenderizer and Lone Wanderer, so extra AP refresh especially is important on this character because, as you saw, we don't have any powered armor pieces, and we can't afford to use Action Boy on this occasion, so really the little bit of AP refresh we can get from perks we want to take with us here. I'm talking about 30% AP refresh from Lone Wanderer. And Tenderizer, very self-explanatory, a pretty good damage boost, especially in our situation where we're never going to one-shot anything except maybe a red roach. So yeah, Tenderizer, extra damage, straightforward. Then we are at Intelligence, where I was already kind of talking about a little bit when it comes to Demo Expert, just a means of giving us a little bit of another way to damage enemies if we so desire. And First Aid is just here because, yeah, we are relatively flimsy. Stimpaks work percentage based, not that they heal a certain amount of HP. So if we're getting damaged, yeah, we really want to get a little bit of help from our fusion, from our Stimpaks. So it's there. What you could do is, if you don't have access to a nuclear winter pipe rifle, you can obviously just use a standard pipe pistol. Well, I wouldn't go with a standard one, but something like an anti-armor explosive one works well. I had one and used it on this build. Same goes for a quad explosive. Can be fun, can be interesting, would work well with Demo Expert, and in that case I would rather use Licensed Plumber than First Aid. It's just due to the fact that my build, my weapon is unbreakable, I didn't really feel the need to use Licensed Plumber, obviously. Then we go for Agility here, which the straightforward thing here, we do have Covered Operative, we do have Sneak and Escape Artist. Very straightforward if you want to go for a stealth character. This combination here is pretty much basic. Now a lot of people tend to go without Sneak or rank 1 Sneak or anything. If they have a good set of chameleon armor, for example, or especially unyielding, so bloodied builds do that a lot. I never really been a fan of it, even though it works. I can't tell you why, but I just feel safer using Sneak, so don't expect me to drop it, please. And other than that, we do have 2 ranks of Guerrilla maxed out, 1 rank of Guerrilla at rank 1, and then the last perk point went into Gun Fu. So as always, when you're using a Guerrilla or a Gunslinger build, Agility is the stat where you have to make compromises, where you really have to mix things up a little bit, and that really comes down to personal preference. So another thing you can do, which I'm sometimes doing, is using rank 2 of every Guerrilla build perk, and have a little bit more, so you could use rank 3 of Gun Fu on this situation. But yeah, that's just something you have to find out for yourself a little bit. And lastly, we do have luck with Grim Reaper Sprint, Better Criticals, Fall Leaf Clover, Starch Jeans, and Critical Savvy. Critical Savvy and Better Criticals is the bare basic combination for a VETS character, in my opinion. Gives you the most bang for your buck. Then Grim Reaper Sprint is something I'm throwing in very often, unless I have very high AP refresh, and even then only with certain weapons. I'm not using Grim Reaper Sprint, it's just too good of a perk. On this occasion, oftentimes when we're fighting multiple enemies, we can kill 2, 3, maybe even 4 or 5 enemies within a single VETS round, so we have a lot of chances for Grim Reaper Sprint to proc, and it usually works out very well, especially when it comes to mobbing. I rarely run out of AP. And lastly, I put in Fall Leaf Clover. I mean, it's arguably a bit of a waste of perk points, because yeah, we get a safe critical on every 3rd shot anyways due to Critical Savvy. But yeah, just on the off chance, Fall Leaf Clover, it does increase your DPS a little bit. You could arguably go for Bloody Mass or anything else here, but I can only tell that much, really from trying a few different things. Whatever you use this perk here for, it doesn't change the world. It can be a bit better or worse, but I found Fall Leaf Clover still being the most beneficial perk here. Then we do look at our legendary perks, which are a bit boring, as oftentimes, yeah, most of them went into boosting our special stats so we can equip more perks. I already told you though that Yeah, 5 intelligence is basically demo expert, which you don't really need, and you can basically just avoid using strength and not use uh, Ordnance Express, and yeah, it leaves you with way less perk points being boosted by legendary perks. But the only legendary perk I would really think is necessary for this build in order to work is Follow Through. I have it maxed out on this character. 40% multiplicative damage is massive on a stealth character, and yeah, you don't want to miss that. It really helps you. Without this perk, we probably would have stood no chance against the Sheep Squatch, basically. And yeah, that was it. We have nighttime finally, and I can show you just another show of how good the range is, which is nice. And yeah, that's our night vision. So everything gets a bit blurry, gets a bit grayish, and yeah, it's just a filter that's thrown over the video, and it looks like you're focusing a little bit, so the um, uh, screen is blurred out on the outside a little bit. So yeah, it's personal preference if you like it or not. Another thing you could do is you could use Exterminator for some situational boosts rather than Night Eyes. But yeah, I found that it worked relatively well. It's fun when you're in dungeons and so on. So yeah, that's why I went for it, and just to switch up things a little bit. I hope you enjoyed the build, guys. I really had a lot of fun with it. I know it's yet again something like a bit of a controversial build due to the fact that we're using a nuclear winter weapon, but judging by the fact how the cryo trooper went, where we are using a legacy cryolator, I think you guys are relatively fine with such videos. So therefore, I thought about using this. As a little bit of a side note, one of you asked about a Zetan Invader build. Now that we have access to legendary um, alien blasters, and yes, I'm definitely working on it. I'm really looking forward to it, but um, I wouldn't say I'm unlucky with legendary alien blasters. I actually have 2 of them, which are quite interesting, but the, they're just not powerful enough so far that I can justify making another video. In my opinion, I really want to have something better, and I'm actually looking for either an anti-armor version or a bloodied version, so I can really see a peak performance here compared to the not medical malpractice, though that's unknown, which now looking at it, it was actually rather good combination. I mean, obviously the medic's effect wasn't all that useful, but the sheer fact that you could get a crit on every second shot, which back at the time I didn't really know because there were no legendary perks, so this wasn't really something you could do without buffs. But yeah, that's definitely something I'm aiming for at the moment. I do have a Gourmand's Vets crit, faster, no, sorry, Gourmand's Vet hit chance, faster Vets crits version, which works rather well, I guess. But yeah, still, the Alien Blaster isn't a good weapon per se, and I really want to see if I can get a good version, looking for something like a bloodied Vets crit version or anti-armor Vets crit, basically. That's the way to go here. It's just a matter of time. And in the meantime, yeah, other things I'm looking for is obviously I want to make a power armor character using legendary power armor, but so far I haven't really finished a set where I can say I build a character around the effects on the armor. So probably the first power armor build with legendary power armor will just be a pretty standard character that just use the additional benefits of having something like a troubleshooter's piece or something like that. And yeah, a lot of talking here. I hope you enjoyed the build, guys, and see you next time. Bye.